overall, 9-4 in the Still Valley Conference. They'll line up this way. The forward spots, it'll be Roger Baldwin, 6'6" senior. He'll be wearing number 44. In the front line of Niles McKinley, probably one of the biggest in the entire area. The other front court spot, it'll be Scott Spackman. He's a 6'6" senior. He's wearing number 40. At the center spot, the man we've been talking about, Keith Wesson, number 42, 6'10" senior, averaging 21 points per ball game. And in the backcourt for Niles McKinley, number 10, 5'11" senior, Tony Agatti, third leading scorer on the team on the year, averaging 11 points per ball game. And to round out the starting five for the Red Dragons, number 24, the playmaker for Niles McKinley, 5'10" senior, Pat Dursey, averaging 5 points per ball game. Okay, we've heard from Jerry Banaszak of Niles McKinley, Bob LaRicca, and Jan Freshley, all set to talk about Warren Western Reserve. Jan?
Bob LaRicca, head coach of the number 2 rated Warren Western Reserve Raiders. First question, Bob. This polls came out this week. Number 2, you're only 10 points out of first place. That's got to be a bit of a motivational factor for your ball club this weekend.
I think just 2 ball games this weekend against Niles and against Harding are just motivation enough. We win 2 ball games and let the polls take care of themselves. I'm just very grateful, and the kids are very grateful for where they're at right now.
Bobby, last time we talked to you after the ball game against Niles. You were kind of upset with yourself because in that ball game you got off to an early start, came into the subs as you had all year, and they just didn't perform as they normally had. Will there be any bit of a little different approach tonight?
Well, I don't know. I think I just substituted a hair too early, that's all. And we just, it's one of them things where you got to have a feeling situation. I think I just came with too many that time, that's all.
Last time you really had pretty good success against Keith Wesson. Was there anything special you really did against the guy?
Not really. We just play our normal defense. We're going to look to strip him the ball. You can't block his shots. We don't want to block his shots. He only got 9 shots last time, and I just find that hard to believe. And I'm sure that he's going to get 9 in the first half tonight because I'm sure they're going to come out pumped up.
Well, the other thing that really was effective last time was the pressure the Raiders had on them. That's something that we're going to just anticipate seeing a whole ball game, I'd have to guess.
Yeah, 84 feet the whole ball game.
Bob, everybody healthy for you?
Got a few injuries. Jimmy got hurt his shoulder last night in practice. I don't know. He's one of the kind of guys, so when you walk across the black line, he's ready to go. A couple kids got the flu, but, our kids, they work hard all week, and when it comes game time, I don't care how sick they are, they're going to play.
Bobby, good luck to you tonight.
Thank you.
Okay, Jan, let's go over the starting lineup of that team right there, the Warren Western Reserve Raiders. Raiders overall 17-1 on the 1981-82 campaign. And, of course, they've clinched the Still Valley Conference crown with a perfect, right now, 12-0 record. They'll wrap things up in the SVC tonight against Niles McKinley and tomorrow night against crosstown rival Warren Harding. Bob LaRicca will line up this way at the forward spots. It'll be Mike Herron, number 22, a 6'3" senior. He's averaging 9 points per ball game. Also a tough man on the boards. Herron holding down an average of 9 rebounds per contest. The other forward spot, the leading scorer on the year for Warren Western Reserve. Second leading scorer, AAA-wise in Trumbull County. Jumping jack by the name of Jimmy Gilmore. Gilmore, 6'3" junior, wearing number 34, averaging 18.2 points per ball game. He's the second leading rebounder on the ball club, also pulling down an average of 9 per ball game. He's also the team leader in assists, averaging 4 assists per ball game. The center spot, Mark Alexander, number 54, 6'4" senior, 8.5 point per game average. He's pulling down 8 rebounds per ball game. And in the backcourt, Ted Jenkins, 5'11" senior, number 24, 8 point per game average. And number 14, Mike Williams, 6' senior. Williams coming into the ball game this evening with a 7 point per game average. Stan Evans, John Sinclair, both from Youngstown, right out on the court. Stan with his face to you. Stan Evans Sr. He has a son also officiating around the area. John with his back to you. And Jan Freshley, turn things over to you once more.
Well, we're going to turn it right over to the Niles McKinley High School pep band as we now join in the singing and the playing of our national anthem. Pep Band with our national anthem before tonight's ball game. I'll tell you, Cap, I don't think you could get too many more people in this place. It is jam-packed, standing room only, as Cap has probably indicated. Many, many college scouts here. The main man, or the center of their attention, will be wearing number 42 in the home whites tonight, Keith Wesson. There are people standing, sitting in every nook and cranny. Here you have a look at Bob LaRick and his Warren Western Reserve Raiders. Now set for the introduction of the Warren Western Reserve Raiders before tonight's ball game. Jimmy Gilmore will wear number 34 for the Raiders. Number 24, Ted Jenkins. We are having some problems. Mark Alexander out on the floor. Mark Heron, and he is followed by Mike Williams. They have turned all the lights out. And now for the Niles McKinley High School Red Dragons. It is going to be an awfully loud crowd tonight, Cap. I have a feeling. I believe coming out on the floor right there, Scott Spackman, who will wear number 40. Roger Baldwin will wear number 44. He had an outstanding game last time against the Raiders. John Elliott being introduced. I believe they're introducing all the seniors. Tony Agatti, one of the starters for the Red Dragons. Pat Dursey, also another starter. Dursey, the point man for the Red Dragons, wears number 24. And here he comes, the big man, Keith Wesson. Wesson will wear number 42. As Cap indicated, there are a ton of people here to look at that young man. We know there are people from Michigan, Wisconsin. Who else do we hear? Syracuse. We believe Gail Catlett going to show up. With a little bit of luck, we may be able to chat with him at halftime. The Raiders went back into the locker room while the introduction of the Niles Red Dragons went on. They are back out onto the floor. There you see Jerry Benizak and his staff. Another fellow for the Raiders that just had possibly his most outstanding ball game of the season was Michael Williams. Williams with 18 points, and he was a defensive terror that last ball game. Let's line them up again. 24 will be Jenkins, 34 Gilmore, 14 Williams, 22 Heron, 54 Alexander, 42 Wesson, 40 Spackman, 44 will be Baldwin, 24 Dursey, and 10 Agatti. The Red Dragons dressed in their white uniforms. The Raiders in gold. Stan Evans ready to toss it, and now the voice of Mahoning Valley Cablevision, John Caporanis.
Opening tip of the ball game controlled by Warren Western Reserve. Niles McKinley opening up in the man-to-man defense. First turnover of the ball game as Roger Baldwin comes up with a loose basketball. And Niles McKinley on the move for the first time. Raiders also in the man-to-man. Mark Alexander right now with the dubious distinction of guarding Keith Wesson. Whistled on the play, and the first infraction will be against Teddy Jenkins for Warren Western Reserve. So the Red Dragons will inbound with about a half minute gone here in the first quarter.
Very interesting, Cap. First time down the floor, the Red Dragons did everything they could to get the ball into Keith Wesson.
He has it again. Pass in the lane to Spackman, and we're going to have a jump off.
It's going to be Spackman and Jimmy Gilmore that'll go up in the Red Dragon circle.
Height advantage to number 40 for Niles McKinley, Scott Spackman, by about 2 inches, but Gilmore just a jumping jack. And he gets the tip to Teddy Jenkins. 4-on-4 break. Jenkins into the forecourt.
Niles is going to set up in the 2-3 zone defense. Ball taken away.
Tony Agatti, while Dursey lost the basketball back to Mike Williams. Williams loses the ball. Agatti wide open right baseline, and let's see, tremendous defensive work by Jimmy Gilmore. Came awfully close to goaltending call, but He got the block.
Jerry Van Azak cleared out in front of the reserve bench on that one. He wanted the goaltending call, and I don't know that he was too far wrong.
Williams steals the inbounds pass to Gilmore against Spackman. Feed to Teddy Jenkins, misses the shot. Whistle as Heron is bumped along the sideline, and let's see who picks it up for Niles McKinley. I believe Walt Duracey, Bad Duracey might have picked it up. We'll give it to him until we're notified otherwise. That's the first team foul against the Red Dragons and Warren Weston Reserve. Mike Williams. So we played a minute here in the first quarter, still no score. Williams on the steal. Teddy Jenkins missing the shot. Jenkins on the follow. Rebound controlled by Scott Spackman to Getty. Wide open right side. Puts it up over Gilmore. Baldwin for the first 2 points of the ball game. 6:42 remaining first quarter. Niles McKinley drawing first blood. Gilmore uses the glass. Tip in by Mark Alexander.
Already 4 offensive rebounds by the Raiders. They are really coming at Niles on the offensive glass. There you saw a bit of the change in the strategy. They had Keith Wesson up about midcourt to come up and help on the press.
Mark Alexander on Wesson.
Wesson really wants the ball.
Roger Baldwin, Tony Agatti, near still by the Raiders, but Teddy Jenkins has just picked up his second foul of the first quarter. Hacking violation against Agatti. So we haven't quite played 2 minutes into the first quarter, and Teddy Jenkins a little bit of a foul problem. Baldwin, Wesson with the basketball, quickly double teamed by Jenkins. Spackman free throw line, rebound to Jimmy Gilmore, taken away by Duracey. Roger Baldwin missing the shot. He's clobbered underneath by Mark Farron. Rushing violation against Aaron. There you see Stan Evans Sr. giving the official call, and Roger Baldwin will be at the line to shoot two.
These guys are playing a ball game up in the O-zone to start it. Everybody way up there. Baldwin went in for that shot. He had a couple guys flying in the air, and Baldwin will be at the line to try and put the Red Dragons back on top.
They'll get one more.
I believe, I don't know, last time, Cap, if we can check it in a second, seems to me Roger had some problems from the foul line.
He can break the 2-2 tie. He does not. Rebound. Scott Spackman inside. Loses the ball to Mark Alexander. Good hustle by Alexander, and the Raiders on the attack with 5:35 remaining first quarter. 2-2 the score. Gilmore needs some help. Mark Aaron into the lane. For 2 points. Aaron's first bucket of the ball game. The Raiders take the lead for the first time at 4-2. Pat Duracey with the basketball.
An early indication of what Niles is going to do against the press. They're bringing a lot more people in backcourt to help out. Great job by Michael Williams.
Throws it out of bounds. Niles will retain control with 3 minutes gone here in the first quarter.
And there's one thing Bob LaRicca was talking about. When Wesson brings it down into people land, they're going to have people slapping at it, trying to strip it away. Michael Williams got a hand on it, not quite able to save it back in bounds.
Tony Agatti to Keith Wesson. Ball taken away, whistle on the play, and Teddy Jenkins has just picked up his third foul of the first quarter.
He got in pretty good that time. Really grabbed onto Wesson's arm as Wesson started his move down the lane. And checking in very quickly is Otis Colvin. Colvin, the 5'9 junior, will wear number 10, and Spackman will inbounds far court. Red Dragons going to try and get back into the ball game.
Ball taken away by Mike Williams. Williams to Colvin, and he's fouled. No, he walks with the basketball. Otis Colvin picking up the 5th Warren Weston Reserve turnover of the first quarter. Comes with 4:38 remaining here in quarter number 1 is Doug Foster, number 30. Checks in for Niles McKinley.
It's going to be Spackman with the break.
4-2, the Raiders with the lead. Wesson baseline right. Inside feed to Baldwin, taken away. Turnover number 7 for Niles McKinley. Mike Williams will turn it right back to the Red Dragons. He takes a stroll right around the midcourt stripe.
And that's exactly what Warren Western Reserve was not doing the last time when they built up the early big lead. They were taking advantage of the Niles McKinley turnovers, but tonight, the Raiders turning around and playing giveaway. Boy, are they banging Keith Wesson inside, and it's going to be called on Michael Williams.
That will send Niles McKinley into the 1-on-1 with 4:14 remaining first quarter.
They are really banging Wesson as he comes across the middle. There you see Jerry Banaszak again down in front of the reserve bench. Bob LaRicka right there, giving some direction to Otis Colvin right now. 4:14 in the first quarter to go. And we've only had 6 points scored. Wesson with a 1-on-1.
Keith Wesson averaging close to 21 points per ball game. Makes it a 4-3 score. He'll get the bonus shot. Quickly, Warren Western Reserve into putting Niles McKinley into the 1-on-1 situation. Red Dragons only have 1 team foul, and Weston will tie it up at 4.
Don't want to say Keith Wesson's much of a force, but I think all 5 fouls have been drawn against Keith Wesson.
Ball taken away. Good defensive effort by Foster. Ball loose, picked up by Baldwin. Roger Baldwin into the lane, right side to Tony Agatti. Rebound, knocked out of bounds by Jimmy Gilmore for the Raiders. Halfway through the first quarter, we had a grand total of 8 points scored in quarter number 1. 4 for Niles McKinley, 4 for Warren Western Reserve. Ball tipped out of bounds again by the Raiders. Combination of good defenses on both sides and a little sloppy ball handling on both sides has held the point total down. Wesson. Rebound controlled by Mark Alexander. Mike Williams left side. Otis Colvin inside feed to Jimmy Gilmore. Wesson with the rebound. And again, Niles McKinley with an opportunity to once again take over the lead. 4-4 the score, 3:29 remaining first quarter. Wesson inside feed. He's fouled by Mark Alexander.
6 fouls now on Warren Western Reserve, and Keith Wesson has drawn. No, I take it back. 1 foul was against Roger Baldwin. But Weston has drawn the other 5 team fouls. It shows you how much attention they are paying to him. Now, I'll tell you why, Cap, you don't want to keep putting this guy on the line.
He was 6 for 7 from the free throw line against Warren Western Reserve in the first outing between these two clubs, and just saw some of the capacity crowd here at the Niles McKinley Fieldhouse.
He is really smooth from the line, too. Naturally.
Rebound controlled by Mark Herron. Into the forecourt, almost lost again by the Raiders. Williams to Jimmy Gilmore. Otis Colvin will set things up. Mike Williams for 2. So Williams connects for his first field goal of the ball game, and the Raiders back up on top by 2 at 6-4. Dorsey walks with the basketball. 8th turnover for Niles McKinley, 7 for Warren Western Reserve. Colvin will do the inbounding. Gilmore tipped around. Mark Herron controlling for the Raiders. Herron against Baldwin. Herron over Baldwin. Rebound tipped up by Alexander. Tipped out of bounds by Keith Wesson. Raiders leading 6-4. 2:45 remaining first quarter. Mark Alexander on the turnaround, high off the glass for 2 more. So Alexander with 4. That's what Warren Western Reserve leads by. Clock down to the 2:30 mark first quarter. Foster whistled on the play, and Jimmy Gilmore with a blocking violation. His first of the ball game, and that will send Pat Dursey to the line for Niles McKinley.
Another amazing factor so far, Cap. We've played, we're going to have a timeout right now so we can talk about it a little bit. We have played over 5 minutes here in the first quarter, 5.5 minutes. Niles McKinley has gotten off only 5 shots. They've gone to the foul line. This will be their 4th trip to the foul line. But once again, the Raider defense has been very tough, denying the Red Dragons any shots. It's the same thing we saw the last time around, where Niles McKinley early in the ball game really had some trouble just getting the ball away until they got adjusted to the defensive reserve. Once that came about, they really were able to stay in the ball game. And I think as much as anything, it was just the Raider bench that in the long run ended wearing them down. And along with the big guy going out with 5 personal fouls. There you see the story as you look at part of the capacity crowd in tonight's ball game. When we come back, the Raiders will be watching the Red Dragons put up a 1-on-1 free throw attempt. I believe it will be Tony Agatti.
Tony Agatti at the line. Agatti looking for his first points of the night. He's in with an 11-point per game average, and the 5'10 senior will make it an 8-5 score.
He really lit him up for a while at reserve. Got going midway or in second and third quarters and really got on fire and helped keep the Red Dragons into the ball game.
Wound up with 14 in that first match between the two ball clubs. Agatti now in with 2, and that's what Warren Western Reserve leads by. 8-6 the score. Mark Alexander or Otis Colvin on the baseline. Jimmy Gilmore missing the shot. Tip no good. Herron in the lane. Rebound to Doug Foster. So now McKinley can tie it up with 2 minutes remaining first quarter. Whistle on the play and a technical against who?
See what this is going to be. Really, I'm not sure what the T is on, Cap. Unless there had been a warning of some type issued to one of the players.
Well,
and they just...
It's on the bench, apparently.
Evidently, because it's a 2-shot foul. So it must have come from the bench.
Tony Agatti makes it an 8-7 score, and he can tie it up.
Niles now in with 6 of their 8 points from the free throw line. Let's take a look at it. I really don't think there was anything on the floor. I believe it might have been something from the bench. Stan Evans coming out.
So the Red Dragons can convert it into a 4-point play with 2 minutes remaining here in the first quarter. 8-8 the score, the third time we've been knotted up in the ball game. Bobby LaRicca standing in front of the...
I believe what Bobby wants, he wants Stan Evans to come over and give him an explanation of the T. There you see St. Clair come over, talking to Bob. Really don't think it gave him the explanation he was looking for, but at any rate, the Red Dragons are going to inbound it with a chance to take the lead.
Scott Spacklin back into the ball game for Niles McKinley. Foster out of the ball game. Baldwin throws it away, picked off by Mike Williams. 3-on-2 break for the Raiders. Right side, Alexander misses the layup. Wesson pulls it down for the Red Dragons. At Duracey. 10-footer for 2 for Duracey. So 6 unanswered points by Niles McKinley. The Red Dragons take the lead, 10-8.
And look at this, the Red Dragons coming out with full court pressure.
Loose ball, whistle on the play, and Keith Wesson has picked up his first foul of the ball game. That's only the second team foul against Niles McKinley.
Checking into the reserve lineup will be number 30, Jeff Hughley. Hughley, a 6-foot senior. Mark Alexander comes out, so the Raiders now going with a shorter lineup, although also coming into the ball game, Mark Ingram, 6'3" senior.
Ingram will wear number 44. Inbounding will be Otis Colvin. Jeff Hughley. Double pick for Gilmore, drives the baseline, shot short, rebound controlled by Scott Spacklin. Niles McKinley has scored the last 6 points in the ball game. They have assumed a 2-point lead here in the closing minute of the first quarter.
Raiders are really cold. They are only 4 of 17, and I believe Ingram's going to get the whistle.
That will send Keith Wesson back to the line, pushing off behind Keith Wesson. Wesson 2 out of 3 from the charity stripe.
This will be the 10th time to the line for the Red Dragons.
Keith Wesson's big point performance of the year, 32 points against the Boardman Spartans. He's been over that 30-point total 3 times thus far this year. And in the first meeting against Warren Western Reserve, came in with 16 points. Wesson now 3 out of 4 from the line. Niles McKinley with an unanswered string of 7 in a row. They lead by a score of 11-8. 1:02 remaining first quarter. Rebound to Mark Heron. Hughley, Otis Colvin. Jimmy Gilmore. Ball thrown out of bounds by Warren Western Reserve. Yet another turnover for the Raiders will give it back to Niles McKinley. 8 turnovers for Warren Western Reserve. Niles McKinley in with 9. But the Red Dragons have a 3-point advantage with 42 seconds remaining first quarter. Roger Baldwin back out front. Dursey will set it up. Let's see how the Red Dragons do. Clock down to the 30-second mark. Ball taken away by Gilmore.
Look out.
Gilmore on the breakaway. Misses the shot. He's fouled from behind by Tony Agati. Agati's first of the ball game, and Jimmy Gilmore will go to the line to shoot a pair.
What you're seeing right now, Jerry Banaszak talking to St. Clair about hanging on to the rim. But I really think as much as anything, Jimmy Gilmore did it for his own protection. And I think it is a legitimate non-call on his part. Because if Jimmy Gilmore doesn't hang on to it, he is going to come down back first.
Gilmore averaging 18.8 points per ball game. From the line, only 61%. Misses his first, he'll get one more. .52 out of 87 on the year for the 6'3 junior. Splits the pair, that will make it an 11-9 score. And Gilmore has his first point of the evening. Again, pressure applied by Warren Western Reserve. 25 seconds remaining first quarter. Scott Spackman will inbound. Pat Dursey trying to get across the line, gets it over to Agati with 15 seconds remaining on the clock. Agati pumps from 15, rebound controlled by Heron. And Heron takes a little bit of a stroll in backcourt to give it right back to Niles McKinley. 11-9 the score. The Red Dragons with the lead, and they'll have the basketball back with 11 ticks remaining on the clock here in the first quarter. There's a good shot of Pat Dursey getting the ball from John St. Clair.
That time Dursey not able to get it in, just bounced it right off Hughley.
Roger Baldwin, right baseline. Rebound to Spackman. Loose ball. Picked up by Hughley with 4 seconds remaining. Otis Colvin loses it out of bounds with 2 seconds remaining first quarter. So Niles might get one more opportunity.
Ball clubs in the first quarter of play.
Roger Baldwin, after Scott Spackman controlled the second quarter tip. Niles McKinley scoring 7 out of the last 8 points in the first quarter to assume that lead. Pass inside by Baldwin, and a good defensive effort by, I believe, Jimmy Gilmore.
Both Gilmore and Heron were there, and they're going to put Heron in the middle.
Mark Heron with an excellent defensive play on Roger Baldwin.
Good pass that time by Keith Wesson, and a good cut by Baldwin.
They're going to have to do that one more time.
Now Baldwin caught the ball.
No, they're going to give it to the Raiders. So Warren Western Reserve with an opportunity to tie things up. By the way, leading scores at the end of the first quarter. Tony Agati with 4 points for Niles McKinley. And Mark Alexander with 4 for Warren Western Reserve. And Mike Williams now has 4 points, and he ties it up for the 4th time, this time at 11-11. Half minute gone, second quarter. Spackman to Tony Agatti, right side, 15-footer. Tony Agatti now with 6. And the Red Dragons lead 13-11. A little bit different from the first time around, Jan.
They are really doing a good job against the pressure by Reserve. They're being a lot more patient. They're doing a lot less dribbling, which has been a big contributing factor.
You can't let that young man loose. He's now in with 6 points. Mike Williams is, and again we're tied up. Agatti into the forecourt. Tony Agatti will slow things down, wisely so. Wesson in the lane. Wesson for 2. 5 points for 6'10", Keith Wesson. Niles McKinley again up on top by 2 at 15-13. Minute and a half gone here in the second quarter. Both teams look a little bit different here thus far, Jan, in quarter number 2.
They look a lot more crisp. And I'll tell you what, if the Red Dragons are able to do what they just did the last time down the floor, it's going to be a long night for Reserve. Michael Williams again, 3 in a row to start the second quarter.
8 points for Williams, 15-15 ball game. Scott Spackman. Durst, they're going to have to hustle. Nope, 10 seconds elapsed. That will give it back to Warren Western Reserve. Turnover number 13 for the Red Dragons. And there's Jerry Banizak giving a little bit of defensive instructions to his ball club. Clock down to the 6-minute mark. Baldwin tipping it out of bounds. Jerry Banizak, what a job he's done at Niles McKinley. Michael Williams with a hot hand, misses the shot, follows it, rebound inside to Ingram, and he's hammered, I believe, by Keith Wesson. That is number 2 on Wesson, the 4th team foul against Niles McKinley. And going to the line will be Mark Ingram for Warren Western Reserve.
Coming into tonight's ball game, Ingram, who averaging a little better than 7.5 points a ball game, hitting 66% from the free throw line. He's really been coming on strong, Cap. The last several games that we've seen Reserve.
Only a junior.
He is becoming more and more impressive, more and more of a force on the boards, and as a scoring factor as well.
He gives the Raiders the lead 16-15, and Mark Ingram could make it a 17-15 score. And he does. Less than 6 minutes remaining second quarter. Keith Wesson with 2 personals. Remember, he fouled out of that first game in the first meeting between these two ball clubs. Agatti will pump for 2. 8 points, Tony Agatti, 17-17 ball game. 7 times we've been knotted up thus far into the going. Mark Alexander. Heron inside to Alexander, and that will be number 3 on the big boy. Reaching over on Mark Alexander, Keith Wesson with 3 personals.
That is a big, big factor right there. Doug Foster's going to come back into the ball game.
And Mark Alexander will go to the line because that personal put Western Reserve into the 1-on-1 situation.
Very similar situation that we had at Reserve. Wesson went down in the first half with 3 personal fouls.
18-17. Alexander with 5. On the year, Mark shooting 63% from the free throw line. He improves that average a little bit as he converts on both ends, and the Raiders up again by 2 at 19-17. 5:25 remaining first half. Foster to Durst.
Red Dragons right now simply have to keep their composure. They can't let the big man get out, and right now, Raiders switch to a zone defense, so Jerry Bandazak's going to take a timeout. He's going to talk over some strategy right now with his troops. Keith Wesson out of the ball game. You look down the floor at the Warren Western Reserve huddle and down farther to the right at the Niles McKinley huddle. 5:15 left to go, second quarter of action. Warren Western Reserve, after trailing by 2 at the end of the first period, have battled back to take a 19-17 lead. Both teams coming out shooting much better. Niles McKinley's hit their only 3 shots here in the second quarter. But again, on the night so far, Niles McKinley is 5 of 11. But on the other side of the coin, Warren Western Reserve is 7 for 23. So again, the Raiders are just getting about twice as many shots. Had a similar situation the last time. Raiders hitting the boards extremely well on their offensive end. They have pulled down 15 rebounds, 10 of those offensive rebounds. So they have hit the offensive glass very hard. Niles McKinley breaks their huddle. And we'll have to wait and see whether or not Reserve stays in the zone. It looks like they're going to go back to the man defense. That's exactly what it is.
5:10 remaining, second quarter. Whistle on the play and a traveling violation against Pat Duracey. That's the 14th turnover for Niles McKinley, and Warren Western Reserve leading 19-17 with an opportunity to extend that lead up to 4 points. Mike Williams almost lost the basketball, and it is taken away by Scott Spackman. Turnover number 11 for Warren Western Reserve. Niles McKinley with a chance to tie it up for the 8th time this evening.
Even after a turnover, Warren Western Reserve right on the men defensively.
Eddie Jenkins back in there for the Raiders. He's playing with 3 personals. Spackman, ball taken away by Jenkins. 3-on-3 break for the Raiders. Jenkins right side. What a move by Eddie Jenkins. Ed Jenkins' first bucket of the ball game. Raiders leading 21-17 with 4:15 remaining second quarter. Duracey across the line. Doug Foster with the basketball. Inside feed to Foster around Gilmore. Can't hit the layup. Rebound to Jimmy Gilmore. Outlet to Teddy Jenkins. Here come the Raiders right side. Mike Williams can hit the shot. Whistle on the play, and let's see who picked it up. Mike Williams with a player control foul. His second of the ball game. Let's see if after it was the shot was put up. Here's the replay on that last.
Watch the move by Teddy Jenkins. He simply goes right by the Niles defender. And as you call it, Cap, they're going to call it after the ball had been released.
And Pat Duracey will go to the line for Niles McKinley. Duracey 0 for 1 from the charity stripe. He's in with a total of 2 points on tonight. His team down by 4 with less than 4 minutes remaining second quarter. Duracey will get the bonus shot. 21-18 ball game. Almost half the Niles McKinley points thus far this evening from the free throw line. 21-19. Niles McKinley back to within 2. Ball taken away, loose ball. Jenkins fighting for it. Still on the floor. Gilmore misses the shot. And underneath, Mark Ingram puts it in. And he's fouled on the play by Scott Spackman. Looked like the old hidden ball trick for a while. Ingram came up with it, put it in. He's in with 4 points in the quarter. And Mark Ingram will go to the line, attempting to complete the 3-point play. And also give his team a 5-point advantage. 23-19. 3:43 remaining second quarter. Mark Ingram with 5 in the quarter. That's what the Raiders lead by. Biggest point spread of the ball game right now belongs to Warren Western Reserve. Roger Baldwin. Doug Foster whistle, and Mark Ingram.
He was leaning on Spackman pretty good that time. Spackman cut across the lane. Ingram was leaning on him pretty good. Stan Evans caught him. So Spackman will go to the line for a pair.
Ingram picking up his second foul of the ball game. Spackman at the line for the first time this evening as Mark Heron. Number 22, there you see him checking back into the lineup. Ingram will get the break. Spackman with the 1-and-1. His team down by 5. Rebound controlled by Mark Alexander. Jenkins inside feed to Heron. Jenkins to Alexander. Working it around the perimeter. Pass inside to Heron. He'll come right back with it with less than 3 minutes remaining second quarter. Whistle, a traveling violation against Teddy Jenkins. And for Warren Western Reserve, that's their 12th turnover of the first half of action. Two minutes, 40 seconds remaining second quarter. Niles McKinley down by 5.
Raiders now going to the zone defense. And I would have to guess what the Red Dragons are going to try and do here is free the guy at the top of the circle up. Tony Agatti's got to be their zone breaker. Raiders very aware of him because he can pop them in from the 20-foot range.
In case you're wondering what happened to Keith Wesson, he's on the bench with 3 personals.
Picked it up with about 5.5 minutes left to go in the half. He had 1 in the first quarter, and he picked up a couple very quickly here in the second quarter.
Inside feed, Spackman going to have to get out of that lane. Just does so. Good save by Agatti. And timeout called by Jerry Banaszak. So that's a second timeout of the first half for Niles McKinley. It comes with exactly 2 minutes remaining in the half. In effect, a 2-minute warning for both ball clubs. The score, Warren Western Reserve 24 and Niles McKinley 19.
We talked about it last week when you get looking into next week and some of the tournament action. Probably a real good tune-up right now for Niles McKinley. They're going to be facing a similar type of ball club, a lot of quickness, and the Howland Tigers. That should be quite a confrontation. Warren Western Reserve will take on Youngstown Ursuline next week. Warren Harding. Will play Beaver Local. And Warren Western Reserve should be very interesting because as things go as kind of anticipated, either Niles or Howland could very easily be playing Warren G. Harding. Although in tournament time, you just can never tell. 2 minutes left to go in the first half. Across the way, Doug Foster will inbound at midcourt. And once again, Warren West Reserve goes back to the man defense following the timeout.
Otis Colvin back in there for the Raiders. Pat Darcy looking for the pick, can't find it. Also, Randy Hughley, 6'3", junior, number 52, making his first appearance of the first half.
We've talked about it several times. Watch how high the ball gets forced out by the Raider defense.
1 minute, 30 seconds remaining first half. Red Dragons down by 5 points. Spackman back out front to Tony Agatti. Clock down to the 1:15 mark remaining first half.
Even though they're not scoring points here, Red Dragons cannot be too displeased because they're keeping the ball out of the hands of Warren Western Reserve.
Inside feed taken away by the Raiders. Mark Heron into the forecourt to Jimmy Gilmore. Gilmore on the drive for 2. Jimmy Gilmore now with 3 on the night, 26-19. Warren Western Reserve with the lead with 45 seconds remaining first half. Pat Darcy across the line. Let's see if the Red Dragons go for the last shot. They are not as Agatti springs free for the layup.
Beautiful cut by Tony Agatti that time. Saw his man come out to overplay the pass and cut in behind him. Got the bunny. Good pass from Darcy.
6 on the quarter, 10 on the night. Inside feed to Randy Hughley. And Hughley has his first bucket of the ball game. The Raiders again up on top by 7, 28-21. 15 seconds remaining first half. Scott Spackman, right side of Getty, wide open, misses the shot. Rebound, back to Agatti with 5 seconds remaining in the half. Dursey double dribbles the basketball. So that'll give it back to the Raiders with 2 seconds remaining in quarter number 2. There you see the story thus far in the ball game. 28-21
point lead here at halftime. After trailing by 2 at the end of the first quarter, Raiders really turned it on. Ended up outscoring Niles 19-10 in the second quarter of play to hold on to the 28-21 lead. Keith Wesson, the big story, he went out of the ball game with 3 personal fouls with about 5.5 minutes left to go in the first half.
Mike Williams gets hacked underneath. Stan Evans calling the violation. Let's see who picked it up. Number 10, Tony Agatti, with his first foul of the ball game, and quickly Niles McKinley with their first team foul. It is a shooting violation, and Mike Williams, who had a hot second quarter for the Raiders, at the line to shoot a pair.
Williams, a 77% free throw shooter. And just as you say it, the first one rolls off the front rim.
Williams, the leading scorer in the first half for Warren Western Reserve, with 8 points. Splits the pair, and the Raiders lead 29-21. For Niles McKinley, the Red Dragons with the only man in double figures, number 10, Tony Agatti. 29-21. In fact, Agatti matched his number in the first half with 10 markers. He has the basketball.
Too small.
Ball taken away by Warren Western Reserve. Teddy Jenkins into the forecourt. Jimmy Gilmore. Good defensive work by Agatti. Inside feed to Heron. Air ball rebound to Roger Baldwin. 29-21. Warren Western Reserve by 8. We played 45 seconds into the third quarter.
Once again, we're going to have a whistle called early on Randy Hughley, battling Keith Wesson for position inside. But early on, a turnover by Niles McKinley. It was their 18th of the ball game, and that has plagued them all game long.
First team foul against the Raiders here in the second half. Agatti working the ball around the perimeter, inside feed to Wesson in the lane. Keith Wesson has his 7th point of the night. That will make it a 29-23 score.
That's what Reserve was able to stop Wesson from doing, getting the ball in the middle. Once he turns it around like that and faces the hoop, it is trouble for the defense.
Mike Williams out of Jimmy Gilmore. Oh my. What a play on both ends. 31-23. Ball thrown away by Agatti. Good hustle by Mike Williams. Ball tipped out of bounds. It'll go back to Warren Western Reserve. And still buzzing over the Mike Williams and Jimmy Gilmore antics of about 15 seconds ago.
How do you do? Williams, should say Gilmore, about hit his elbows on the rim.
Working the ball around, taken away by Tony Agatti. Agatti one-on-one into the forecourt. Agatti into the lane. Agatti to Spackman, tipped out of bounds. Last touch by Warren Western Reserve. So Niles McKinley, no, they're going to give it to the Raiders. They say Tony Agatti last touched it, so Niles McKinley loses the basketball. And the Raiders inbound with exactly 2 minutes remaining, or 2 minutes gone here in the third quarter. Raiders leading by 8. Wesson with the steal for Niles McKinley.
We're starting off the third quarter the way we started off the first quarter. A lot of turnovers.
Tony Agatti to the baseline. Agatti pumps 17-footer for 2. Wow, points for Tony Agatti. He's the leading scorer in the ball game at this point. And that will cut the Raider lead back down to 6 at 31-25. Heron, inside feed to Jimmy Gilmore. Ball taken away, picked up, and scored by Randy Hughley. Hughley with his second field goal of the ball game. And the Raiders back up on top by 8. Ball taken away by Hughley. Mike Williams, 3-on-2 for the Raiders. Missing the shot. Hughley with the tip. Tipped up and in by Jimmy Gilmore. Gilmore with 4 in the quarter, 7 on the night. Raiders up by 10. Ball thrown out of bounds. Niles McKinley will retain control. Substitution, Scott Spackman checking in for Roger Baldwin for Niles McKinley. Red Dragons trailed by 7 at halftime. They're down by 10 at this point. First 10-point spread we've had in the ball game with 4:50 remaining third quarter. Gaddy trapped in the corner. Ball taken away. Jimmy Gilmore. Gilmore against the Gaddy. Misses the layup. Teddy Jenkins reverse layup for 2. That's Teddy Jenkins. Teddy ball player. There's the replay of that last festivity. Ball tipped up by Jimmy Gilmore for the 2-pointers. Niles McKinley calls for their first time out here in the second half, the 3rd overall, as Warren Western Reserve has built up a 12-point, 37-25 lead. There you see some of the standing room only crowd here this evening, Jan. Pretty tough to squeeze any more people into this arena.
Well, it really is. You look down at the far end, and they have people standing about 4 deep. But what the Raiders have done is just really crunch on the offensive boards, Cap. So far in the ball game, the Raiders have pulled off 22 rebounds, 15 of them on the offensive boards. They have really gone to town, stayed after it. We've seen their last 2 hoops come off offensive rebounds. So the Raiders are really going at it. Again, just a difference in the number of shots. Warren Western Reserve for the ball game in with 36 shots from the floor. Niles McKinley has been able to get off only 16 shots. So it really doesn't matter if you shoot 70% on a ball game. When you're only getting about half as many shots as your opponent, you're going to have to shoot 100% to stay in a ball game. And right now, Niles McKinley, they are facing some tough times. Reserve comes out. Here initially, they were going to call off their pressure. Now they come up not quite the full strong court pressure.
Here in the third quarter, the Raiders have outscored Niles McKinley 9-4 to assume that 12-point advantage.
And right now, Reserve has moved into the zone, and you can be well rest assured there's going to be people all over Keith Wesson.
Doug Foster back out front to Pat Dursey. Spackman to Tony Agatti. Wesson with the basketball inside. Peter Spackman for the 2-pointer. Hey, young ladies, please move, will you? Spackman's first bucket of the ball game. That'll cut the Raider lead back down to 10 points, and good defensive effort on the part of Niles McKinley.
Keith Wesson got around that time, batted the ball out of bounds as they tried to get it into Heron.
Jimmy Gilmore almost lost it.
One of the reasons the Raiders were able to really come on strong in the second quarter. First quarter they had 10 turnovers, cut that margin to only 2 turnovers in the second period.
Rebound to Scott Spackman. Dursey into the forecourt to Doug Foster. But quickly the Raiders back on the transition game. Whistled on the
Jenkins, I believe. That's what it's going to be, and I believe that's number 4 on Jenkins. And quickly coming into the ball game will be Otis Colvin.
Three minutes, 11 seconds remaining third quarter. Niles McKinley with a chance to cut the Raider lead down to 8. Wesson coming way out for the inbound pass. Doug Foster, look at that pushing off inside. Who are they going to call it on? They're going to call it on Randy Hughley. He and Keith Wesson having a war down there.
They really are. Time. I don't know if we can kind of focus and just watch Wesson because there are people all over him.
That's the third foul. Make that the second foul against Hughley, the third team foul against Warren Western Reserve here in the third quarter. Inbound pass almost lost, wide open. Wesson didn't take the shot, and Niles will have to reset up. That time a little too generous, Dan.
Really was, because it looked like he had the open door to the hoop. Went over to Foster.
Foster from inside the key, rebound to Doug Foster, puts it back, rebound taken away by Keith Wesson, whistled on the play. Doug Foster getting the hacking violation. Number 1 on Foster, that's the second team foul against the Red Dragons here in the third quarter. It comes with 2:39 remaining in quarter number 3, and Warren Western Reserve leading by a score of 37-27.
There you see Bob LaRicca. He is moving for his motion offense right now. And you talk about a guy that gets everybody on the offense involved.
Mike Williams to Otis Colvin. Just as a comparison, at the end of the third quarter of the first matchup between these two teams, Warren Western Reserve also led by 10 points. Whistle, and Keith Wesson has just picked up his 4th foul of the ball game.
Cap, that is a very cheap foul. That is a very cheap foul in this kind of a ball game. There was nothing. He was not inhibiting the offensive player or prohibiting him in any way from moving across the lane. It's nothing more, I'll tell you, they got to be consistent. If they're going to start calling them like that, they're going to have everybody on the floor fouled out.
Otis Colvin to Jimmy Gilmore. Mark Aaron. Gilmore almost lost it. 2 minutes remaining third quarter. Raiders continuing to hold that 10-point advantage. Jimmy Gilmore for 2.
He is amazing.
6 in the quarter, 9 on the night for the 6'3" junior. And the Raiders again up by 12 points. Keith Wesson against Randy Hughley.
Boy, they got to get it right back to him.
They do. Wesson drives inside, and he's hammered by Jimmy Gilmore.
They got 8. As soon as the ball was out to the guard, he had to get it right back to him because Wesson had the man on his hip. All he had to do was make a quick turn, and he was at the hoop. Up off the bench for a reserve, Mark Ingram and Mark Alexander. They're going to check in for Hughley and I would guess Darrell or Mark Heron, and that's who it's going to be. So fresh troops come on to go after Keith Wesson. 1:33 left to go, third period of play. The Raiders with a 12-point advantage.
Wesson with 7 on the night, 3 out of 5 from the charity stripe. Remember, he came in averaging 21 per ball game, and he'll get one more as he misses the front end.
He has got to be a very frustrated ball player at this point. 2 outings against Warren Western Reserve. And neither one of them have been, I'm sure, the kind of performance he would like to have. And let's see, now Weston will go out of the ball game with 4 personal fouls.
39-28, Roger Baldwin back in there for Jerry Banaszak's ball club. See how the Raiders play it. Trying to pull Niles out of the zone.
That's exactly what they're going to try and do now.
1:20 remaining third quarter.
And they have forced the Red Dragons into the man. Jersey will be on Otis Colvin. Big matchup right there. Doug Foster, a good defensive play, got the ball away from Gilmore.
So the Red Dragons can cut it down to 9 points with less than a minute remaining third quarter. A Gaddy baseline drive feeds to Baldwin, can't handle it out of bounds. It will go back to Warren Western Reserve. 21st turnover for Niles McKinley. Raiders with 51 seconds remaining here in the third quarter. Opportunity to stretch their lead out to 12. In fact, out to 13. They're leading 39-28. And again, Warren Western Reserve pulling Niles McKinley out of the zone defense. Mark Ingram. Mike Williams to Jimmy Gilmore. Clock down to the 22nd mark remaining third quarter. Williams to Alexander, whistled on the play, and a traveling violation against Mark Alexander. That'll be the 16th turnover against the Raiders.
Raiders really lost an opportunity. They ran about 40 seconds off the clock, got it down to 13, and had the turnover. With a 9-point advantage as we head into the fourth period of play. Very, very similar situation as we had in the first ball game. We enter the fourth period. Keith Wesson, the guy right in the middle of your screen, the big guy for Niles McKinley, 21 point per game average. 4 personal fouls to start the fourth quarter.
Tip.
He hit it on the way up. He had to. Jimmy Gilmore did it.
That'll give it to Niles McKinley. Red Dragons down by 9 at 39-30. Leading scores at the end of 3. Warren Western Reserve has Jimmy Gilmore and Mike Williams both in with 9 points. And Tony Agatti leading the Niles McKinley charge. He's the leading scorer in the ball game, in with a dozen at this point. Keith Wesson in with 8. Whistle on the play, and let's see what happened this time.
Mark Ingram about pushed Keith Wesson into the bleachers.
That will move Niles McKinley into the 1-and-1 situation. Foul number 3 on Ingram.
Can't help but point out again, Cap, 2 areas that have really been critical in the ball game. Number 1, turnovers. Niles McKinley with 21 turnovers, and Warren Western Reserve with 16. But even more importantly is the number of shots taken. At the end of 3 quarters reserve, 16 of 38. Niles McKinley had gotten off only 20 shots through 3 periods of play. They hit half of them, but again, you got to get the ball in the air.
Wesson hitting the front end. He'll get 1 more. Keith in with 9 on the evening, and from the free throw line, the 6'10 senior now 5 out of 8. Let's see what's happening down on the court.
We should mention, Cap, we may have to, we don't want to make excuses, but we have to apologize from time to time. We kind of lose about a quarter of the court when it gets down in that corner where Stan Evans is heading right now. Our vision is somewhat blocked at times.
Wesson on the back end, in with a total of 10 points. He had 16 in the first go-round between these 2 ball clubs, and a whistle in the backcourt. They're going to hit Tony Agatti with a blocking foul. That's number 3 on Agatti, and the 4th team foul here in the second half against Niles McKinley. 39-32. Niles McKinley down by 7. The Raiders up by those 7 points, and Warren Western Reserve throughout the entire season, Jan, fourth quarter-wise, has just blitzed their opponents.
Well, coming into tonight's ball game, they had outscored their opponents 422 to 313 in the fourth period of play. So they have outscored them by better than a 10-point margin in the fourth quarter.
Jimmy Gilmore misses the shot. Rebound to Doug Foster. Foster to Pat Dursey.
You know, it was impressive right there, Cap. Even though he did not get the rebound, Keith Wesson showed how good a technique ball player he is. He did an excellent job of blocking out.
Misses the shot. Gilmore with the rebound to Otis Colvin. Raiders up by 7 with 7:10 remaining, fourth and final quarter. Otis Colvin inside to Mark Alexander. Good move by Alexander.
Excellent job of switching the hands when he was up in the air.
6'4 senior now in with 8 points. Raiders up by 9. Dursey pumps from 20. Rebound. Keith Wesson whistled on the play, and he's fouled by Mark Alexander. Number 2 on Alexander, and again Keith Wesson will go to the line to shoot the 1-and-1. Wesson with 10. 6 out of those 10 have come from the charity stripe. Six for 9 from the free throw line overall. Keith now in with the 11. Opportunity to make it 12, and also an opportunity to cut that Warren Western Reserve lead back down to 7 points. Wesson fouled out of the first contest with about 6 minutes remaining in the fourth quarter. He's now in with 4 personals, 12 points, 6:45 remaining in this one.
You got to believe that the Raiders are going to try and get the ball inside.
Mike Williams.
Except when Michael Williams gets a shot like that.
11 for Williams. Raiders back up on top by 9 at 43-34.
He is another guy that we have just seen continual improvement on the year. All phases of his ball game.
Darcy inside, loop pass to Keith Wesson, puts in the bucket. He's fouled from behind by, I believe, Mark Heron. That's who it is, 22. Mark Heron picking up his second personal. Wesson has all 6 Niles McKinley points here in the fourth quarter. He has a chance to complete the three-point play and bring the Red Dragons to within 6.
Also shows you what a good athlete he is. That time he was completely off balance, falling down to the floor, somehow was able to get the ball airborne, got the hoop out of it, and has a chance for the three-pointer.
Does not hit it. Rebound. Loose ball picked up by Wesson. Good hustle by Keith Wesson. Whistle on the play. They're going to call traveling against Niles McKinley.
Right now, Warren Western Reserve is going to take a timeout. No, that one had to hurt the Red Dragons. Wesson missed a rebound, and just a hustling effort by Spackman and Wesson kept the ball alive. But the ball was turned back to Warren Western Reserve, and the Raiders take a timeout to talk things over. 6:13 left to go. And I'll guarantee you one thing Bob LaRicca is talking about in that huddle for his offensive group is to get the ball inside, go at the big guy, see if you can get him out of the ball game. Last time they did, they had a much easier way to go to finish the ball game at Warren Western Reserve. We've talked about it before, too. This is the next to last regular season ball game. Tomorrow night, we will be at Warren Western Reserve for the Harding Reserve rematch. We are also going to be carrying the junior varsity ball game in that one. A couple of fine JV ball clubs. The Reserve JV's up their record to 18-1 on the year. Their only setback coming last Friday night at the hands of the Howland Tigers. And I believe Warren Harding in was something like a 13-6 mark or 14-5, something like that. That should be one heck of a clash. We will have both of them tomorrow night. And that will be on the air at 11 o'clock following the ball game tomorrow night. So the Raiders will inbound. And now it is up to the guys in white defensively to shut down Warren Western Reserve, get the ball back.
Mike Williams with the basketball. Raiders leading by 7 as we work our way down to the 6-minute mark remaining fourth and final quarter. Otis Colvin. Now the Raiders just playing for the open shot, trying to pull Niles McKinley out of the zone and also eating up some of that clock.
They're in a good position, Cap. They can afford to be very patient and look for the good shots. I don't anticipate any action toward the hoop until they get it inside to Heron or Alexander or possibly Gilmore if Jimmy gets down low.
Well, they've already killed 30 seconds off the clock here in the fourth quarter. Down to less than 5:30 remaining fourth and final quarter. And now staying in that zone defense. Jimmy Gilmore. Raiders after their 18th consecutive victory. Mark Heron over Wesson. Rebound. Cleared off by Pat Darcy of Niles McKinley. So exactly 5 minutes remaining in the ball game. Red Dragons can cut the lead down to 5. Inside feed to Keith Wilson. Misses the shot. Foster on the rebound for 2. Doug Foster's first bucket of the ball game. 43-38. Raiders up by 5. 4:40 remaining fourth and final quarter.
And across the way, I'll tell you, the people, Niles people are really up on their feet. Tony Agatti is going to be whistled for a foul. And that is going to be his fourth personal.
That also will move the Raiders into the 1-1 situation as Mark Heron will have the honors. Heron with only 2 points in the ball game. His first appearance at the charity stripe, but he's played his usual tough game on the boards this evening.
Heron, a 58% free throw shooter.
Leading rebounder on the ball club coming into the ball game. Hits a big first shot. He'll get the bonus. 44-38. The lowest total that Reserve has been held to this year has been 55 points. Woo. 45-38. Heron now with 4. Raiders by 7. Niles McKinley again trying to cut it back down to 5. Dursey with the basketball. Doug Foster looks inside for Wesson. Ball almost taken away by Colvin. Whistled on the play, and let's see.
I think they're going to call it kicked it. They say that Colvin kicked the ball as they tried to get it over to Spackman, or check it to Foster.
Almost exclusively in the fourth quarter. Niles McKinley's looked for the big man underneath. Roger Baldwin blocked from behind. Loose ball picked up by Mark Heron. Heron taken away by Agatti. Tony Agatti right side to Pat Dursey. In the lane, Doug Foster misses the shot. Rebound cleared off by Heron. Loose ball, and Doug Foster in the backcourt will pick up his second violation of the ball game. And again, we'll go to the Raider free throw line where Mark Heron will have the honors with 3:47 remaining, fourth and final quarter. Tony Delbane, assistant coach for the Raiders.
You know, Tony does a lot of work on the defensive end of the floor. A lot of times you'll see him up giving directions when the Raiders come down, set up their defense. Right there, he and Bob LaRicca both giving instructions as to the defensive alignment they want the Raiders to come down in. Mark Heron, 2 for 2 from the line so far. I'd like to see he and his other 2 brothers getting a little bit of a
Darrell and Mike
basketball game. I'll tell you, some excellent basketball players.
Darrell's doing quite well at some college in northwest Pennsylvania. I don't know if it's Gannon. He and Phil Murphy from Struthers, former Struthers Wildcat star, 1-2 scoring punch, I think, for the Gannon Ball Club. 46-38, and Mike Heron, who's had 4 clutch free throws here in the fourth quarter, gives the Raiders again some breathing room at 47-38. 3:45 remaining, fourth and final quarter. Niles McKinley in the situation. They're going to have to start shooting in a hurry and hoping a lot of those go in. Dursey to Tony Agatti. Keith Wesson taken away. Good defensive work by Mark Heron. Gilmore into the forecourt. Alexander for 2.
And right there, Keith Wesson in a helpless situation. 4 personal fouls. He couldn't go lead down to 43-38. And reserve on a couple or 4 big free throws by Mark Heron and a hoop by Alexander. Open it back up to an 11-point margin. And you called it, Cap. The Red Dragons are going to have to come down and shoot quickly and then put on the defense, try and come up with a defensive play.
3 minutes, 10 seconds remaining, fourth and final quarter. Pat Dursey to Tony Agatti, working it around to Spackman inside to Keith Wesson, and he's fouled by Mark Alexander. Number 3 on Alexander, and Keith Wesson, who's 4 out of 5 at the charity stripe here in the fourth quarter, make another appearance there. He's in with a total of 14 on the evening. Right now, the leading scorer of the ballgame.
There you see Alexander. He has played a fine defensive ball game. He will battle Keith Wesson every inch of the way.
Eight out of those 14 points from the line, and 9 out of the 15 now from the charity stripe for the 6'10 senior. A lot of scouts looking at this young man here this evening. In fact, Eldon Miller personally has come up to watch him more than a few times this year from Ohio State. Gene Catlin from West Virginia also personally scouting the big man. That time he split the pair, and the Raiders lead by 10 at 49-39. Less than 3 minutes remaining, fourth and final quarter.
Niles has come out in a man-to-man defense.
Jimmy Gilmore! It's good, and he's fouled by Scott Spackman. Gilmore with the 11, second foul on Spackman. And Jim Gilmore will go to the free throw line for the 3rd time this evening. This time attempting to complete the 3-point play.
Gilmore at the line earlier tonight in the first quarter, split a pair. I'll tell you, he's got to have some of these college scouts kind of drooling at his abilities for next year also.
52-39 the score.
Whistle now on the floor. It's going to be on Jimmy Gilmore.
Number 3 on Gilmore and Tony Agatti. A perfect 4 out of 4 from the charity stripe.
And you'd have to think that right now the Raiders do not want to keep putting him on the line. Make the Red Dragons earn their baskets and get the 2-pointers rather than keep sending him to the free throw line.
13 for Tony Agatti. He'll have one more. Agatti came into the game averaging 11 per contest. First go round he was in with 14. Right now he has also 14. Raiders lead down to 52-41. Otis Colvin. Two minutes, 25 seconds remaining, fourth and final quarter. Raiders after their 18th consecutive victory.
Took a walk.
Mark Aaron on the traveling violation will turn the ball over to Niles McKinley on the 18th turnover for the Raiders, and a technical called against, I believe, Aaron. That's the second tee we've had in the ball game. The first one against the bench, this one, I believe, against one of the ball players. Both times Stan Evans has whistled the infraction.
See if we can decide what happened right there. There you see Heron. Well, didn't catch it. Agatti hits the free throw. So the Red Dragons will get the ball at midcourt, and right now Warren Western Reserve going to take a timeout. 52-42, 2 minutes 17 seconds left to go. As we indicated, next week starts tournament time. We will be bringing you some of those ball games next.
Loss and won 18 in a row and going against Harding tonight. You deserve a great pat on the back and a congratulatory remark. But let's go to the ball game tonight. First time around, you were able to beat Harding by about 5 points. What do you got to do to beat Harding tonight?
First, let me preface anything by thanking the kids. I've said this numerous times, and I will continually say